Did you know that the U.S. power grid will experience 5.5 hours of downtime per year? During a power outage, you need all the help you can get when responding to the need for energizing a facility. A generator docking station can play a big role in bringing the facility back up. These docking stations are designed to safely connect and disconnect a portable power generator to a building or a piece of specific equipment. In some cases, a docking station is required according to the National Electric Code. That's why on the power grid, we're going to be talking about details related to generator docking stations. Hello and welcome back to the Power Grid, a podcast to help you build reliability in your electrical system and give you confidence in your power. I'm Brian Brannigan with Power Protection Products. We have been solving power quality problems for almost 30 years. We're your trusted advisor for critical power, cooling, and energy solutions. Sooner or later, the power is going to go out and you're going to need a generator. Whether you are doing maintenance work on a permanently installed generator or using a portable generator, a generator docking station is the safest and best way to transfer temporary portable power to a facility. Installing temporary power can often involve problematic cable runs from the outside to the inside of a building. Sometimes the cables have to go through windows and doors to land on the critical equipment. These temporary cable runs are problematic and unsafe. A properly installed generator docking station can feed the temporary power through the existing electrical system in a controlled and safe manner. All right, joining us today on the Power Grid is a special guest who's probably knows more about generator docking stations than just about anybody in the country. His name is Acer Pahukoa, who's with a company called Trystar, and they specialize in making generator docking stations. Acer, how long have you been with Trystar?
Yes, Brian, thanks for having me. I've been at Trystar for 7 years currently. 6.5 of those years I've resided in Minnesota, close to our factory. And I just recently moved down to San Marcos, Texas.
So you actually started working in the production facility. Tell us a little bit about what was going on at that time.
Yes, sir. When I first started, our training method was to work in the factory for as long as you could to learn all of our products. And I was in the factory for just over 7 months, making cables, docking stations, portable power equipment, and anything we could do for hurricane season and emergency preparedness.
Tell us a little bit about some of the work that you've done out in the field.
Sure. I've been sent out in the field numerous times for customer support, but I've pulled cable, I've ran conduit, I've hooked up rental generators, I've tried and sometimes failed turning manual transfer switches and double throw switches, but I've done it.
So he's been around a little bit in this
Yes.
generator docking station world, and now he's more into sales and business development work for Trystar and some of the related products for Trystar. But before we jump into it, let's just take a minute and kind of tell everybody what a generator docking station is used for and how it's actually used in industry today.
Definitely, yes. So the generator docking station market kind of started exploding in about 2017 with our recent code adoption 700.3. What a docking station does, it just allows an easy means of connection for our roll-up generator in case your permanent standby generator ever fails or it's just down for maintenance in general.
So we've also used generator docking stations for individual pieces of equipment. Tell us a little bit about some of the applications for equipment docking stations.
Definitely, yeah. Our docking station, the basis of design just allows an easy point for a roll-up generator. So we've backed up pieces of switchgear before, entire utility microgrids. We've backed up schools, hospitals, all those kinds of things is where we've fallen in the market. So
Now, I've seen pictures of them on chillers too. So is that used in the data center world?
Yes, our docking stations are probably the most prevalent in the data center world. As you know, any power failure in the data center world results in typically millions of dollars per second. So we do have means to disconnect permanent and temporary chillers, and of course your roll-up generators.
Okay, good. So during a power outage, a generator docking station allows you to quickly return to power without an electrician present, right? And this helps protect the building from the risk and the cost of a power loss. What are some of the safety features that are built into a docking station?
Yes, definitely. Yep. The biggest word in this industry is safety, and our docking station as well is one of the safest units out there. So because you both have a permanent standby and a roll-up generator connection available in the same cabinet, you do need a manual means of disconnect or transfer located in our cabinet. So typically we would provide some kind of manual transfer switch, whether that is your typical double throw switch, your 3-position on-off-on rotary switch, or we utilize circuit breakers and Kirk interlocks to do all your means of transfer.
So there's a lot of options related.
A lot of options. You know, it's typically the most convenient for the user or the most cost effective, or, you know, footprint availability. So that feature is extremely important, along with, you know, many small ones that kind of separate us from our competition. You know, every connection point in our cabinet is protected either by our container or our cam lock connection points. Always have a little plastic flip lid over it so no one ever touches it on accident. They can be safe while they're rolling up their roll-up generator and connecting.
So part of the reason to have a portable generator is because either your main generator may not be functioning correctly, or your power went out and you didn't have a generator. I read a statistic that said that you can expect 5.5 hours of power outage a year. Has that increased the use of docking stations?
Yes, 5.5 is kind of on the lower side, I would say. But yes, it has increased the use there. You know, a lot of our facilities that we have our docking station on, they're considered critical, either a critical load, critical power, or it's a critical application. So typically you cannot lose power for 5 hours at a hospital or a data center, or if you're backing up a microgrid for a community or something like that. Any kind of storm shelter, you cannot be down without power. You know, you're losing lives potentially, and you're losing money, of course.
So a typical utility company can fix a power outage in like 2 to 3 hours. They can come and get the power back on. But when it's some sort of severe storm or a severe power outage, it can take literally days for the power to come on. And so you almost have to have accessibility for a portable generator. And this is where the docking station comes in.
Yes, definitely. You know, of course, we, you know, have a lot of respect for our linemen out there, utility workers, but they're typically constantly swamped, you know, during your emergency preparedness, emergency recovery, or disaster recovery. And our docking station just makes it easy, so you have power whenever you need it. You have a quick connect point for a roll-up generator, and you can be back online servicing your customers. Make sure they're sheltered, fed, power is available while you work on the utility grid.
So let's talk a little bit about some key end user benefits of having a docking station on site.
Sure.
So first of all, it costs money to modify your electrical system, right?
Yes.
Particularly in an emergency. So if you didn't have a docking station, but you needed to hook up a generator right away, what would be some of the pain points in doing that?
I have unfortunately been on that part of the scope. If you don't have, you know, a typical docking station available and your utility power fails, first thing you would have to disconnect your permanent power source from whatever it's feeding, you know, your gear, your automatic switches, or whatever building load you have connected to it. So you are unhardwiring lugs, you're pulling cables with bare ends on it, you're accessing possible live bus bar or mechanical lugs there. It's a lot of labor. You know, a typical 2000 amp application could take about 6 to 8 hours to pull those cables out and run your rental generator cables and hardwire it back in to make sure you have power.
So if you had a docking station, how long would it take to hook that portable
With a docking
generator?
station, yeah, that's a great question, because, you know, everything will become pre-installed and pre-wired. So when you need backup power, you open the front door and we utilize cam lock connections, your typical plug and play solution, and that will take 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, so big difference.
So, big difference.
Big difference. What about from a legal standpoint? Some of the modifications that you have to make to your electrical system without a docking station being there can be risky modifications, right?
Sure, it's very risky. I mean, again, you're approaching very closely to live bus bar and mechanical lugs. The code specifically dictates that you cannot alter that power source when you need a rental gen available. It has to be a pre-connected source with a quick plug and play solution, so you don't risk anyone's life pulling that live wire by those hot bus bar connections.
So if we had to run temporary cables from the parking lot into the building, what are some of the ways you've seen that happen?
Yes, I've definitely been on that end, running power cable from multiple generators outside into electrical rooms. That is very difficult. It can be long runs. You get a 200-foot piece of cable. Typically, that's around 200 pounds. So me trying to pull that, I'm a little bigger guy, but it's very difficult to pull that and run it, 50 or 60 times. So, the new code update has also dictated you can't be running cables from outdoors inside of buildings or windows. That's a big security issue, right? You're leaving public spaces open. Cable can be stolen. And of course, that intense labor for that and the unsafe nature of hardwiring it.
Acer, I'm going to ask you about a situation where we have a permanent generator installed and we're running out of fuel in the permanent generator. Are we required to have a temporary generator running while we're fueling the permanent generator, or can we fuel that permanent generator while it's running?
Yes. With our docking station, we would like to not have it running the same time as you're trying to refuel that permanent standby. So the sequence of operation, you would want to switch to your roll-up generator power through our cabinet, and then you can safely refill your permanent standby generator.
So it's much more safer to refuel.
It's much safer, for the user and the operator.
Yeah, that was the point. I was trying to figure out if that was a real point or not. I wasn't sure.
It is, definitely. Yeah.
It's a selling point? There's got to be a code about adding diesel to a running generator, right?
It's just super unsafe. It's like, leaving your car running when you're trying to fill gas up.
Right. My wife always yells at me for doing that.
Can't be doing that.
It's cold out. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the different styles of docking stations. Tell us a little bit about what some of the selections are.
Sure. Yes, our docking stations are pretty, flexible and custom for whatever application the customer does need. Typically, your smaller standard units, we can mount it on the wall. With that, you save a lot of footprint on the concrete ground itself, and it's pretty easy to install, and you can run your conduit through. Typically, your bigger applications, about 1,200 amps and more, will put it in a very creatively named unit, a pad mount unit, because it sits on a concrete pad outside.
Right.
So with that, you can also bring up your conduit you can stub it from underground, and you can always access it either underground or through the sides.
So they come in wall mount and pad mount.
Yeah, wall mount or pad mounted, depending on what site you're at.
Okay. So, and they can go indoors or outdoors.
We will always recommend having it outdoors.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason why is the UL code specifically says when you have a rental gen connection, like our male cam locks, power inlet, that has to be located outside, because if you have that inside, you have a higher possibility of somebody rolling up a rental generator indoors, which is super dangerous when you start up. Fumes build up, people pass out.
Sure, I see.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Great safety feature.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the progression of docking stations, okay? Automatic transfer switches have been around for a long time. ATSs, right? And then this came around as a basic docking station, right? A generator docking station. What has evolved since the basic generator docking station?
Yeah, when the code introduced our docking station line into the market, we just followed the code, put it where it was dictated to go, and just left it be. Now, as we approach, newer markets, we look at bigger projects. What we're trying to do is integrate as many pieces of electrical equipment as we can. We've seen really great success with it. It saves footprint. Obviously you can integrate more things into one more compact cabinet. It saves you time from getting multiple requests or installation costs and all that from different people. And it also makes it much more user-friendly if you can operate it all at one box compared to going to 4 different things that are on site.
Okay, so you've added breakers into your docking station, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've added circuit breakers. That's kind of our overcurrent protection device.
Right.
We can also have our service entrance rated breakers in our cabinets, typically for your utility feed. That's where we see it.
Okay. And then we have different purposes for docking stations now too, right?
Yes, our docking stations have multiple purposes besides just a roll-up gen. We can, load bank test your permanent standby gen, which is becoming much more prevalent now, especially with your bigger engines and your Tier 4 final engines out there.
Okay, we have dual-purpose docking stations, and we have triple breaker docking stations. What would be an application where we would use a triple breaker docking station?
Yeah, we do have the triple breaker docking station. So typically if someone needs overcurrent protection device on every single connection point in our cabinet, your permanent standby, your roll-up generator, and your roll-up load bank connections, if you want overcurrent protection over every single piece, that's when we can use all 3 breakers.
Okay. Acer, I know there are a lot of different options when looking at a generator docking station, but what are some of the standard features that should come with a docking station?
Yeah, so your typical standard features we'll have in our docking stations. We'll always include a phase rotation monitor that is dictated by code for any 3-phase application. We'll always have a Siemens phase rotation monitor in there. Security features as well. All of our front doors are all padlockable, in multiple points, so you can close the door and padlock it, which helps reduce cable theft with our docking station. So you are safely able to connect, portable power generator cable into our cabinet. You can drape it down through this rake system, and you can close your front door and padlock it, and your cables are safely into the docking station.
Keep it safe. Acer, I know there are a lot of other features you could add to a docking station that isn't part of the standard equipment package. What are some of those options?
Yeah, typically we will recommend always having auto start contacts in there. That's code dictated, of course. We usually typically recommend battery chargers and engine block heaters to keep that roll-up generator, battery charge and the engine nice and warm to start up. We'll also include, because we have multiple power sources available, we'll always want to have manual transfer switches in there, or circuit breakers and Kirk keys to do all your means of transfer inside of our cabinet.
Okay. Acer, thank you so much for coming out to the Power Grid. I know that I learned a lot about docking stations.
Yes, sir.
Today.
Thank you for having me.
We're happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to learn more about generator docking stations, options, and applications, call Power Protection Products for more information or check out the show notes.